What's going on, family? This is Greg Foster here with Market Boss at eXp Realty right here in San Antonio, Texas. If you're thinking about moving to New Braunfels, Texas, I'm giving you 21 things that you need to know before you get here. I mean, this is the stuff that the locals know, and we're getting into it right now. Number 21 is that there is only one S in New Braunfels. Now, I know it's not exactly the easiest thing to pronounce, especially if you're not used to saying it, but you're going to get the side eye real quick from the locals around here if you start throwing another S in there. You come through here talking about New Braunfels, and folks around here are going to be like,
we don't do that here.
Apparently, it's so commonly mispronounced that there's even a song about it.
There's only one S in New Braunfels.
Number 20. New Braunfels was founded by a German prince back in 1845, and it's that German heritage which continues to play a significant role in the historic charm of the city to this day. Many of the homes and the buildings around downtown date back to when New Braunfels was first founded, and when you take some time to walk around downtown, there's just this sense of time really standing still down there. The city's done an amazing job of preserving the architecture and the old world charm here, and it's that sense of history and nostalgia that really draws a lot of people to the area. Whether you're into chilling in the shade beneath a 150-year-old gazebo, dancing to live music in the oldest dance hall in Texas, or if you're into going antiquing and looking for something special, you'll find all of that here in New Braunfels. Number 19 is that New Braunfels is a town of two rivers. If you're checking out the map, you'll see that both the Comal and the Guadalupe rivers make their way through the city, and it's these two rivers that play a major role in the active outdoor lifestyle that New Braunfels is known for. People really love spending time outside on the water here, and there's all kinds of swimming, fishing, kayaking, and tubing pretty much year-round. Now, tubing and floating the river is really like a rite of passage around here, but it's two completely different kind of vibes depending on when you go. Through the week, there's way fewer people on the river, and you really get a chance to chill and take in the scenery and float down the river at your own pace. The weekends are a whole different story though. It gets super crowded, and you could easily spend 2 to 3 hours waiting in line just to get put into the water, and it's literally bumper to bumper with everybody else by the time you get in there. Personally, I'm more of a Tuesday afternoon type of guy myself. Number 18, know the rules of the river. It is not legal to jump into either one of these rivers from a bridge, from a building, or from the top of a house. First of all, you don't know how deep that water is, and you know it wouldn't be an actual rule in an actual book somewhere unless somebody tried it, got hurt, and died from it. Just don't do it. Number 17 is that Texas pride is a very real thing. You ain't gonna find another state where people have more pride about living where they live than they will right here in Texas. It's the only place where the state flag can also fly as high as the US flag, and we even have our own Pledge of Allegiance too. I can still remember the first time I went to an award assembly at my kids' elementary school after we moved here. They had all the kids and the grown folks standing up doing the pledge like usual, and I'm on some like, with liberty and justice for all. Then I go to take my seat, and the next thing I know, it's like,
honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
and my wife and I look at each other like, what was that? Apparently, when people say moving to Texas is like moving to another country, they ain't playing. Number 16 is constitutional carry. If you're not familiar with constitutional carry in Texas, it basically means that if you're at least 21 and you can legally own a gun, then you're able to carry it in most public places without having to obtain a permit or complete any training classes. Now, it's no secret that Texas is a conservative, pro-Second Amendment, red state with gun laws favorable to gun owners. And we've had just as many people reach out about moving here that appreciate that as we've had that aren't really sure about it and want to know if it's like the Wild Wild West down here. To be clear, it's definitely not the Wild West down here. And regardless of whichever side of the line you stand on when it comes to this thing, it's one of the deals that a lot of people give at least some consideration when moving here. Number 15 is that Buc-ee's is a national treasure, and the one located on the east side of New Braunfels right off of I-35 holds the world record as the largest convenience store on the planet. Now, this thing is way more than just a gas station, and I'm kind of ashamed to say that I went a whole 6 years living in San Antonio before I even went to go see what Buc-ee's was all about. But this last summer, we were on our way back to San Antonio from an Austin basketball tournament, and we decided to run up in there, and if I'm just keeping it real with y'all, Buc-ee's changed my life. I mean, you can get everything in there from swim trunks, wind chines, smokers, fire pits, and home decor to some of the best pulled pork, chopped brisket, beef jerky, and breakfast tacos you've ever had in your entire life. Now, you might think it's crazy to jump in the car and drive 45 minutes from the far west side of San Antonio where I live all the way over to New Braunfels just to get some gas station barbecue, but it's probably because you ain't never had it before. And you know I can't forget about Bucky the Beaver. It's kind of a big deal around here to get a picture with Bucky the Beaver the first time you go and throw it up on social media. If you don't post it, it's like it never happened. Number 14 is that live music is a huge deal here in New Braunfels. There's all kinds of venues and restaurants with indoor, outdoor seating and dance floors, and there's even an amphitheater for concerts right on the banks of the Guadalupe River. Green Hall in the Green Historic District is the oldest dance hall in Texas, dating back to 1878, and it's famous for hosting country greats like Garth Brooks, Willie Nelson, and George Strait. And to this day, music from live bands can still be heard all over downtown Green well into the evening as the sun sets and the stars come out at night. A few years back, we had a family reunion in New Braunfels on my father-in-law's side, and I always think back to what it was like having all the uncles, aunts, grandparents, and little cousins out on the dance floor in Green Hall. That's back before both my girls was teenagers and they weren't too cool for a father-daughter dance. Number 13 is that you can spend all day outside at the parks here in New Braunfels and never run out of things to do. Fisher Park over on the south side of town sits on 62 acres at the top of a hill overlooking the city with views for miles in every direction. There's over 2 miles of greenway trails, 2 fishing ponds, and you see lots of family out there with kids running around in the splash pad and playgrounds out there too. Then you've got Landa Park and Prince Soames Park right in the middle of town with all kinds of fun stuff for you to do. There's golfing at the Landa Park Golf Course right next to the Landa Park Aquatic Complex, and with the Comal River running right through there, you have access to tubing, splash pads, swimming in Landa Lake, along with picnic areas and playgrounds right there on the water. There's giant oak trees all over the place with miles and miles of trails for walking, biking, hiking, and there's even mini train rides for you to sit back, relax, and take in all of the beautiful scenery. And of course, we can't forget the water park and the resort here at Schlitterbahn. For a lot of folks, it's the perfect staycation spot to hang out for the day or for the weekend if you're looking for something a little bit more adventurous. These parks are a major part of the active outdoor lifestyle here in New Braunfels, and they play a large role in bringing the community together here. Number 12 is that living in New Braunfels gives you quick access to everything San Antonio has to offer. It's only a 45-minute drive into downtown San Antonio with the Riverwalk, the Alamo, and all of the amazing restaurants and the culture down there. And while a lot of San Antonians head up to New Braunfels to pull away from the city, we also see a lot of folks from New Braunfels head into San Antonio for staycations at our luxury resorts and to take advantage of our award-winning golf courses, our high-end shopping, and to spend the day having fun at our 2 theme parks here with Six Flags and SeaWorld. And it's because of the manageable commute that we've seen more and more people who work in San Antonio make the decision to live in New Braunfels. You get the benefit of living in a smaller town with lots of character, hill country views, and acreage communities with space between your neighbors. While just a short drive away, you have access to all of the major employers, attractions, and opportunities of the 7th largest city in the country. And my team out here, we're getting calls every day from folks just like you looking into the San Antonio area. So if you're thinking about moving or relocating anywhere near the Alamo City, then give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or click the link in the description to schedule a Zoom call with a member of our team. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back in the San Antonio area. Number 11 is the wildlife. Now there's some good stuff and some bad stuff that you really need to know when it comes to the wildlife here. New Braunfels is known for having a lot of deer running around both in town and in our acreage communities. A few weeks ago, I was driving around about 2 blocks from downtown getting some footage for this video, and there's just this whole family of deer in these people's front yard eating all the flowers out of their bushes. Most people really appreciate the deer around town, and they're really a part of the community and the nature vibe that you get here. But I can't say the same about all the other critters you're gonna find. Pest control is an absolute must here in Texas. Just this last weekend, I was out in my backyard spreading around some ant killer for the 3rd time this year, because if you don't, the fire ants get super busy, start building these Egyptian pyramid ant castles in your backyard. And just when I thought I was about done, I ended up bumping the fence with the spreader, and apparently some wasps had done got up under that fence post and built a nest up in there. They came out swarming all hard, and the last time that I jumped up and took off running that fast was that one time I was cutting my grass and this big furry tarantula started climbing up the side of my fence. Next thing I know, I'm at Lowe's standing next to half a dozen other dudes in the pest control aisle looking at every kind of repellent you can imagine. There's ant killer, wasp killer, spider killer, scorpion killer, snake repellent, deer repellent, rodent repellent, insect repellent, bug spray, mosquito spray, coyote urine.
That's about it.
Now, it's not usually that deep if you're living in town, but if you're living in one of our acreage communities, then you might need to get familiar with this stuff. That, or you can just get on an annual plan with one of these pest control companies out here and they can get you all straightened out. Number 10 is the traffic situation. Now, if you ask most locals anywhere you go what the traffic is like, they're probably going to tell you that it's terrible. And I guess that makes a lot of sense if you're not really comparing it to anywhere else. But New Braunfels is starting to feel a little crowded with the population having tripled here over the last decade. There's all kind of road construction and improvement projects going on, especially on the east side of town along I-35, and there's a few things that you'll want to keep in mind when you're on the road here. I've heard from a lot of people moving down here that people in Texas don't know how to drive, and I've also got a 16-year-old who just got her license, and I swear it's like she comes home every day with a new story about how somebody was speeding, driving like an idiot, or breaking the law. She'd be like, ugh. Personally, I don't think it's that bad, but if you ask my wife, she'll probably tell you that I'm one of those aggressive drivers that our 16-year-olds always complain about, because I stay trying to beat the estimated time to my destination on Google Maps. So I don't know, I guess you probably just gonna have to get down here, do some driving around, and then let me know what you think about it. Number 9, in Texas, when you register your vehicle, the DMV is gonna give you 2 license plates. I remember when I first moved here from New Mexico and I thought, that's nice, they gave me an extra. Turns out that it's the law that you're supposed to have a license plate on the front and on the back of your car. We spent 4 whole years living here and everything was cool until one morning, straight out the blue, my wife gets pulled over by some motorcycle cop in the school drop-off line because she didn't have a license plate on the front of her car. Dude gave her a $250 ticket. First of all, nobody told me what that second license plate was for. Second of all, you're probably gonna have to take a power drill to your front bumper to put that thing on there. Now, I was already feeling a certain kind of way about drilling holes in these Fords that we were driving when we first moved here. But last year I bought a Cadillac, and I'm not even gonna lie. When it came time to drill holes in the front of that car to put my license plate on there, I was pretty upset. Matter of fact, I'm still salty about it. Number 8 is that in Texas, you can only buy liquor from liquor stores. Now, moving here from New Mexico, I was used to buying my tequila at the grocery store, which was super convenient because it was right next to the Milk, Lunchables, and the Capri Suns. I mean, you can go shopping for your kids' lunch and for margaritas all at the same time. You can still get beer and wine here at the grocery stores, but if you're looking for the stronger stuff, then you're gonna have to hit up a liquor store. Back when the pandemic first hit and most of the dining rooms were closed, legislation was passed allowing restaurants to sell cocktails to go as long as you also ordered food. I remember when Papacitos first came out with these fajita packs to go where you could add on like a pint or a gallon of their house margarita. My wife and I ended up going with the gallon, and all I'm gonna say is make sure you be careful with that stuff because it's a lot stronger than it tastes. Apparently this alcohol to go thing ended up going so well in Texas that the governor actually signed it into law, making it permanent. Number 7 is that there is always something going on here in New Braunfels with all of the festivals and our parades throughout the year celebrating our German and Hispanic heritages. There's Wurstfest where everyone gets to be German for 10 days and you can show off your chicken dance. There's Wassail Fest, the Day of the Dead, the lighting of the Christmas trees in Main Plaza, and a huge 4th of July celebration every year at Landa Park. Pro tip for the 4th of July celebration. A lot of people start showing up at Landa Park early in the morning, spending all day fishing, swimming, and barbecuing well into the evening for the fireworks show. All the parking is usually gone by lunchtime, so what a lot of people do if they're not wanting to spend the whole day out there is drop their car off early in the morning, catch an Uber back to the park later in the evening, and then drive home when everything is done. Number 6 is to make sure you water your foundation. This is probably one of the craziest things that I heard when I first moved to Texas, but apparently there's expansive soils down here in certain parts of town, and you can end up with foundation issues if you don't do the right thing as far as maintenance. And you have to make sure that you water evenly too. If you have a full irrigation system, you'll probably be fine. It's usually when you water your yard unevenly where you end up with soil expanding and contracting at different rates in different areas, and it's that kind of stuff that can cause your foundation to slip. Expansive soils are usually only an issue on the south side of town, but home inspectors are always keeping an eye out for that kind of stuff because foundation movement is not inexpensive to fix. Number 5 is that you'll find some pretty amazing schools here with exemplary ratings in both the Comal and the New Braunfels Independent School Districts. Families and students benefit from all kind of activities, extracurriculars, art and theater programs, sports programs, and a lot of involvement in agricultural studies and science programs too. There's always so much involvement from the parents and the teachers in the school systems here, and that's a large part of what makes for a stronger, close-knit community. Number 4 is that you have to try Black's Barbecue. Now, Texas is generally known for having great barbecue, and the Black family opened the first Black's Barbecue in Lockhart, Texas back in 1932. 4 generations later, and it still stands as the oldest barbecue joint in Texas, and it's still owned by the exact same family. This is easily the best barbecue that you will have in your entire life. And sometimes I like to drive by there just so I can roll my windows down, stick my head out, and get a free smell. Number 3 is that we do have some higher property taxes here in Texas. Overall, New Braunfels really isn't that that bad though, with the tax rate closer down to around 2%. In the city limits of San Antonio, you're going to be sitting somewhere around 2.7%. And in Austin, it's even higher than that, in the 3 to 4% range depending on your subdivision. Folks moving here tend to get sticker shock when they realize that up to a third of their mortgage payment is going to be property taxes. But if you're coming from a state with an income tax, just remember that in Texas,
We don't do that here.
for most people though, when they end up doing the math, they still see that they're coming out ahead with a net positive by moving to New Braunfels. Number 2 is the Southern hospitality. I grew up in the Midwest where people were pretty chill and friendly for the most part, so the Southern hospitality down here in Texas felt pretty familiar when we first moved here. But for a lot of our clients moving here from the East Coast or the West Coast, they said that they were in for some real culture shock. I had this investor client from New Jersey that I've been working with for a few years now. She told me this story after she moved here about how when she pulls up to the drive-thru here in Texas, everyone's all, "Hi, how may I serve you?" "My pleasure. Have a blessed day." And how back east when they jump on the intercom, they'd be like, "What do you want?" I was like, oh. But we hear that kind of stuff all the time from people when they first moved here. They're just surprised with how nice and how open everyone is here. If you're standing in line or just hanging out somewhere, there's a pretty good chance that somebody's going to strike up a conversation with you. And if that sounds kind of weird to you, just give it some time. You probably won't be living here that long before you start doing the same kind of stuff. And number 1 is that people absolutely love living in New Braunfels. And I mean, how could you not, right? Millions of people visit here every year to experience the charm, the beauty, the active outdoor lifestyle, and the amazing people that live here. People from all across the country are heading to Texas wanting to live their best life, and for a lot of folks, they choose to do that right here in New Braunfels, Texas. Now, if you want any more information about what it's like to move to or live in the New Braunfels area, my team out here is getting calls every single week from folks just like you, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving or relocating anywhere in the San Antonio, New Braunfels area, then give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or click the link in the description to schedule a Zoom call with a member of our team. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back when moving to the San Antonio area.